Professor Trell stared at the humans with a mixture of horror and fascination. The 3 specimens from Earth, classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, had somehow been enrolled in his extreme survival course meant for the galaxy's most resilient species. A clerical error, surely, but university policy was clear. No mid-semester transfers. They'll be dead by the end of the first exercise, he whispered to his teaching assistant, a 6-limbed Varaxian whose exoskeleton could withstand vacuum exposure. The assistant clicked her mandibles nervously. Should we modify the curriculum? Absolutely not, Trell replied. It would compromise the educational experience for the real students. The humans, Tom, Lisa, and Jack, sat at the back of the amphitheater, looking painfully fragile among the silicon-based life forms, methane breathers, and radiation-resistant entities that comprised the rest of the class. First field exercise tomorrow, Trell announced. Acid rain survival on Nexus 7. Pack accordingly. This has to be a mistake, Lisa said, as they trudged back to their quarters. A former military engineer with a practical mindset, she was the most level-headed of the trio. Tom, a lanky biologist who had joined the Galactic Exchange Program out of scientific curiosity, nodded. I checked the course description 3 times. This is meant for Category A resilient species. We're Category D, at best. Jack, a stocky former wilderness guide with an unflappable attitude, shrugged. Well, I say we show these aliens what humans are made of. We've survived on Earth for thousands of years, haven't we? Earth has oxygen and water, Lisa pointed out. Nexus 7 has sulfuric acid downpours and ambient radiation that would cook most mammals. Details, Jack waved dismissively. We're adaptable. Besides, they must have safety protocols. They did not, in fact, have safety protocols. The 27 students were deposited on the hellscape of Nexus 7 with a simple directive. Survive for 24 hours, then make it to the extraction point. No additional equipment beyond what they brought. The non-human students had evolved or engineered natural advantages, sealed membranes, chemical neutralizing glands, or regenerative tissues. The humans had cobbled together makeshift acid-resistant suits from their limited supplies. Remember, Tom said as they huddled in the shadow of their landing craft, we stay together, we find shelter, and we move only when necessary. The first acid rain began 3 hours in. While other species simply stood in the downpour, the humans scrambled beneath a rocky overhang. I've analyzed the rain patterns, Lisa said, consulting her datapad. There's a rhythm to it. We can time our movements. Between downpours, Jack was studying the movements of a small native creature that scurried between puddles. Look at how it navigates. It's following higher ground where the acid runs off. The humans did what they had always done throughout their history. They observed, adapted, and improvised. Professor Trell watched the monitoring feeds with growing disbelief. They shouldn't be alive, he muttered. The radiation alone should have incapacitated them hours ago. They're quite clever, his assistant remarked. Look how they fashioned those reflective shields from their landing craft's thermal insulation. But they're so exposed. No natural armor, no redundant organs, not even basic radiation resistance. Yet they persist, the assistant clicked thoughtfully. By hour 18, half the class had dropped out due to injuries or equipment failures. The humans, remarkably, were still moving. They'd discovered that the local flora secreted a neutralizing agent for the acid, something the other students had overlooked, having no need for it. Tom had identified it, Lisa had engineered a method to extract and apply it, and Jack had found their path forward through the treacherous landscape. The extraction point is over that ridge, Lisa said, pointing at a distant plateau. But there's a massive acid lake between us and it. The others are using their natural abilities to cross, Tom observed through binoculars. A quadrupedal silicon-based life form was literally walking across the lake bottom, immune to the corrosive liquid. Jack grinned. Well, we've got something better than natural abilities. We've got human ingenuity. Using scavenged materials from failed equipment left by other students, they constructed a simple but effective boat with a sealed bottom and acid-neutralizing coating. This is unprecedented, Trell exclaimed as the humans reached the extraction point, not first but solidly in the middle of the pack. They succeeded using sticks and fabric? His assistant made a sound that approximated laughter. They're problem solvers, these humans. They don't adapt their bodies to the environment. They adapt the environment to their bodies. The three humans stood at the extraction point, their makeshift protective gear in tatters but their spirits intact. They looked exhausted but triumphant. The semester continued, and with each impossible challenge, the humans found ways to survive. Not through superior biology, but through cooperation, innovation, and an almost irrational refusal to accept defeat. In the vacuum chamber exercise, they repurposed equipment in ways no one had imagined possible. During the extreme gravity simulation, they developed techniques to distribute weight loads that even the professor found innovative. By the final exam, survival on a methane-based moon with temperatures approaching absolute zero, the other, students were actually consulting with the humans on strategic approaches. "I don't understand," Professor Trell admitted during the final evaluation. "Your species is objectively fragile. You lack almost every adaptation that would qualify you for this course." Lisa smiled. "With respect, Professor, humans come from a planet that has tried to kill us in new ways every time we've evolved. We're not adapted to any specific threat, because we've had to face all of them. Our advantage isn't biological," Tom added. "It's psychological and social. We cooperate, we innovate, and most importantly, we're too stubborn to know when we're supposed to fail." Jack nodded. "Where we come from, we call it human spirit. Hard to quantify, but it works." Professor Trell made a notation in his records. For the first time in his teaching career, he added a new category to the classification of survival adaptations: cooperative problem-solving and innovative engineering, human method. The administrative error that placed Deathworlders in Extreme Survival Classroom 101 would become legendary in galactic academic circles, not as a cautionary tale, but as the beginning of a complete re-evaluation of what constituted evolutionary advantage in the cosmos. Sometimes it seemed the most powerful adaptation wasn't having armor or immunity to hostile environments. It was having the intelligence and tenacity to overcome them against all odds.